To the top left, I am doing simple texturing and recoloring. The process required me to select an object, then applying a new lambert. After applying the new lambert, I then change the color. Then, to change the color, I simply select the color and choose the one I want. To apply texture, I import the texture I want and apply it to the lambert. Using simple textures allow me to easily wrap around the object. This is shown through the table, which is wrapped by a wooden texture, and as you can see, it came up pretty well. However, more complex textures require UV mapping, which will be shown in the fourth section. To the top right, I am using a tool called the skeleton tool. The skeleton tool allows me to manipulate the movements of the model. The skeleton tool is mainly used to do the animations from the project, which is basically the main function of what I'm trying to develop. The skeleton tool required me to use simple rotations and imitations of human actions to, make the model realistic. I'm also using the camera tool, which allows me to manipulate what the viewer is seeing. The camera tool is a simple tool which allows me to rotate and move to fit what I want to show. To the bottom left, I am editing the animation after it was completed. Throughout the editing process, I used tools such as Layer Split and Simple Movement tool, which allowed me to cut out parts of the animation that I did not need. The editing also allowed me to put two clips together, making a smooth animation. During the editing, I also added effects to the animation, using the opacity tool as well as the feather tool. I was able to make different effects, such as fading of an animation, as well as fading out. The effects that were applied required me to use accurate positioning of keyframes to ensure that all the effects that were being played are being played when it is intended. On the bottom right, I am doing some more texturing. However, this time I wanted to put texture on certain faces. To achieve this, I used object mode and put settings to faces. This allowed me to choose the faces which I wanted to texture individually. After selecting each face I wanted to texture, I again applied a new lambert, which I then imported a texture. After importing the texture, I UV mapped the texture to fit the position for my object. This is shown through the texturing of the bed sheets. As you can see, the UV mapping requires me to put certain squares into where I wanted the certain part to be shown. For voice recording, I use a pre-made written script, which is then read out into a mic. After recording the voiceover, I imported the audio into my project. Similar to the importing of the voiceover, any other sound effects and soundtracks were also imported in. After being imported, I used tools such as the slice tool to cut sections that were not needed. After cutting the sections that were not needed, I could easily move and slide the audio to where I wanted it to, have sound throughout my animation. The development of 3D models required me to have more advanced knowledge of the human anatomy. With the knowledge of the human anatomy, I was able to identify the different body parts of a human body, as well as creating them in 3D.